it's going to seem like I'm going to harp on this, but obviously there's been a decline in enrollment. Has anybody checked to see if the decline in enrollment has started since he's taken over as principal? Just like that. So, I'm going to keep this somewhat short this week. So my goal at these meetings is to raise awareness for parents. For a long time, I've avoided these because I expected the school to have my kids' best interests in mind, but I really don't think that's the case. And so the school needs to change from the top down. Obviously, I think that starts with Jay. I can go on and on as to why I think he's not fit for the job, but instead I'm going to just leave it to a question. What is he doing well? That's it.
I only have a couple things quick tonight. One, I told you we were going to be going to the sports banquet a couple weeks ago. This is the second or third year in a row that we've scheduled a sports banquet ahead of our academic awards or academic grades coming out, so that the kids can't get recognized for doing a good job in school as well as on the field. I think that's just bad planning. We should look into that moving forward. Also, when I left that, when I left the sports banquet part for our soccer team, my son's soccer team, I actually felt like I'd just been taken out to the woodshed by my father. That's how I felt when I left there by the coach, in the way that he treated the parents, and even worse, the kids, my son being one of them, or two of them there. As senior, when I got back to my house, I actually had another kid on the team that isn't even my son asked me how it was his fault that we lost the season, because the coach decided he wanted to point that out, or try to make it his fault. And third, I don't know if there's a protocol for any paperwork that maybe goes out to the students at this school, if anybody has to look that over. If there isn't, there should be, but we shouldn't be handing surveys out to student athletes, asking them to sign it, and asking them to judge an adult on what kind of job they did for that year. I'm totally for, not putting your name on it and asking them to rate certain things, but to ask the coach how he did for that year when you have to play probably for that coach again next year, probably not a good idea. Thank you.
Charlotte?
Good evening. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Charlotte Jager. I'm an employee here at Prospect Mountain High School. I have a son who's a senior here, so I'm also a parent, and he will be our 5th child to graduate from PMHS, so we're pretty familiar with the school. I'm also a resident and taxpayer here in Alton for the past 25 years. I have a threefold purpose in speaking tonight. I'll be concise. I'm aware of my 3-minute time frame. First, my role here at the high school is a part-time administrative assistant in the counseling office, or as you called it at a previous meeting, the part-time guidance secretary. During the discussion of next year's proposed budget, my position was specifically named as one being eliminated, while proposed changes to other people's jobs were also openly discussed. I personally would have appreciated the courtesy of a conversation before you announced publicly that my job was being eliminated. Clearly, several of my colleagues were aware of my fate before I was. One of them was kind enough to recommend that I watch the video of the meeting, and that is precisely how I found out that my position was being cut. I came here tonight to say that between an email from the SAU and the statements made at the last meeting, I believe that you handled the announcements of proposed budget cuts poorly. At best, you were inconsiderate, and at worst, unethical. I know that budget cuts are often difficult decisions, and I respect the work that board members do. I feel that as an employee, however, I was not shown the respect and consideration that I deserve, nor were the others whose positions you openly discussed. We cannot go back and change how this was done, but at least I can say publicly that you handled this poorly, and I hope you'll do better in the future. Secondly, I speak to you about my position specifically. I believe that taking hours away from the services provided in the counseling office is short-sighted, given the national dialogue which acknowledges the growing mental health crisis among teenagers. The minuscule savings passed on to the taxpayer by eliminating my salary scarcely seems worth the added burden to the counselors. These are the same people who in the past 4 years have helped students cope with tragic loss, complex hybrid schedules, complicated staff issues, and even townwide scandal. These counselors have handled issue after issue with grace, discernment, and discretion, and are rewarded by surprise cuts to their department. I think a few conversations with admin and department heads could yield a cooperative decision about where cuts might be less detrimental. And lastly, I know the circumstances under which several of you joined the school board. I remember the divisive administrator at ACS who undermined and nearly destroyed the trust, productivity, and the morale of the staff there. I voted for some of you because I trusted you to demonstrate that you value staff members and desire to work together to seek the best possible learning environment for our students. I have seen segments of the last few meetings dissolve into finger-pointing, criticism, and accusations against this school. I want to challenge you to continue to strive for excellence, but to do so with a cooperative spirit towards your administration. Acknowledge our strengths, and rather than point fingers, work together to fortify any weak spots. Adopting a we-they mentality in board meetings is simply unproductive. Let's strive for excellence. Excellence in how we treat one another and in how we educate our students. Thank you.
Thank you, Sharon. Anyone else? Seeing none, I'll close public input. Agenda review. All those in favor? Approval of the minutes from November 9th.
Second.
Any changes or adjustments? Anything else? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Report of the Finance Committee.
This was not the early meeting. We had where we have a backbone the budget. We need the expenditure reports and the revenues, and we have a recommendation for the board on those solutions.
Thank you. Short. Buildings and grounds. Some report in the packet. Discusses the sidewalks, the boilers, some plumbing issues, the plowing company, power outage, and the gym sound system, which is not finished yet. Student rep, Chris. Thank you.
All right, so starting off with athletics for the winter season, all of our sports are starting within the next week or so. So for basketball, they have their first game this coming Friday against Raymond for both girls and boys. The ski team has their first meet on December 21st, just before break, at Woods. Winter track and unified basketball have began practicing and training and getting ready for their season. For the fall season, one student made first team All-State for volleyball, one student for second team All-State for volleyball, and 1 student for soccer, and then 2 students received honorable mentions. Looking at school organizations, we had 7 new members being inducted into the National Art Honor Society. 6 new members are being inducted into Tri-Am. And our Gay Straight Alliance Club recently sent donations to the Trevor Project, which offers free counseling to LGBT youth, and the Colorado Healing Fund to support victims of the Club Q tragedy. We have 9 new members being inducted into FBLA. And FBLA also participated in New Hampshire's FBLA Fall Leadership Conference in Manchester, where they networked with over 400 students from across the state and advanced their business skills and social skills. Looking at events inside the school, our Granite State Challenge team competed against 35 New Hampshire high schools on November 19th, and although they didn't make it to the next round, their score is fantastic and they brought a lot of great school spirit. Tri-Am hosted a Christmas movie night last Friday, and there was great attendance from the students, and I heard really great reviews about it. The Student Council is currently in the process of planning the annual Winter Bash, which is a day filled with interactive games and activities, which kind of unites students of all grades, faculty, and staff, and everybody's really excited for that. A nice little break before our break. That's all I have.
Thank you. Principal's report.
I'm going to present using the overhead. Rewind to give me a moment. You have part of the report there, which indicates how many students made honor roll from the first term, as well as the number of students who were failed of course. We had 156 students make honor roll. Term 1, we had 37 students who had failed a course, 66 courses. 37 students who failed 66 courses. All of those failures, interestingly enough, those are all students who are filtered through our intervention team. So none of those are a surprise to us. Those are kids that we have provided interventions along the way, some of it being academic intervention, some of it being outside support interventions. But in most of those cases, nothing is a surprise. We see it coming long in advance in communicating with parents, trying to communicate with kids. So, the bulk of what I'm presenting tonight, I do have paper copies, should you prefer. I got one request. It's kind of like a demand, but all a request. If you'd like a hard copy, please let me know. I think I have enough for everybody. So after the last board meeting, I went back and I watched the meeting again. I read the minutes once Deb posted it out, and there were some concerning things from the last meeting, and I was trying to decipher how and why we were having the conversation that we were having, and how I can go about helping clarify some of the points that were made. So I thought, okay, I'm just going to go back to basics and present information that I think will help give clarity on some of the things and some of the concerns that you have. Kids who may be taking too many PE classes, the reason, what credits look like, how many credits can get earned, and what are some of the positive, good things that are going on here. Because our reality, I think we have an excellent school, and I think we have excellent teachers, and I think we have excellent students. Is there room for improvement? Of course, there's always room for continuous improvement regardless of how good you are and how effective you are. And so I thought back to, wow, when we presented to schools like Gilmington and Newt, we were proud to present to them and showcase who we were, what we offered, how we did it, our philosophy. And aside from the pandemic and having to navigate all of those obstacles, we're still that same institution. We offer great things for kids here. So I want to review some of those things with you. You may or may not know this, and if it's repetitive, I do apologize, but I think it's fair and it's important for all of us to be on the same page with the same information. Graduation requirements. Is that in focus for everybody? Yes? Okay. 24 credits to graduate from Prospect. I'm going to break those down for you. 26 credits for an honors diploma. If you maintain a certain grade point average and 26 credits, you graduate with an honors diploma. special recognition on your physical diploma, on your transcript as well as recognition, public recognition at graduation. So the way it breaks down, we have 15 required courses. These are the courses that you are required, that we require students to take. Now, some of these courses are the state minimum requirements that every student in the state of New Hampshire in a public high school has to take. We go above and beyond slightly what the school or what the state requires. So here's the breakdown of that. 4 credits in English, and the way that we traditionally talk about it here in the high school is 4 years. The expectation is that a student is taking an English course every 4 years. Okay? English 9, 10, 11, 12.
Did you say it?
Yes. Yes. In social studies, we require 3 credits in social studies, and the way that it's broken down, again, is state requirements, a half credit in civics. We currently offer a full credit in world history, even though the state minimum is half credit. 1 full credit in U.S. history, and a half credit in economics. Coming down the pipe in a year, we're also going to have to offer a financial literacy course. Now, I only mention that because as we're building this year's program of studies, we're trying to piece it inside here and trying to create how we can work smoothly without having to hire new staff. And so when I bring you the program of studies, I'm going to bring to you a proposal to implement that financial literacy course, which is going to be a state requirement. So those are your credits in social studies. In science, there's physical science that all freshmen take, followed by a biology class that most sophomores take. Those are the 2 state-required courses. Here at Prospect, we require an elective to satisfy the 3 credits in science. That elective could be in one of the many electives that we offer: chemistry, physics, botany, marine biology, field ecology. There's a long list of options that students could take in a combination of half-credit courses to satisfy that 3rd credit. 3 credits in math as well, starting with the basic algebra, a sequential algebra course, followed by a geometry course, state standards. We also then require a 3rd elective. The state actually requires what they call a math experience. This is a 4th math class that seniors need to be enrolled in. However, it doesn't need to be a specific math class. It has to be a class that has math components in it. So, for example, if I took marching band or concert band, there's a math component in that course where we can check the box and say it is a math experience. Okay? There's a 1 credit requirement in physical education. The way that we do this here is that we require every freshman to take a half a credit in PE, and then at some point over the remainder of their high school career, they need to complete that other half credit in PE. We also require a half credit in fine arts. This could be an art class, or this could be a music class, and a half a credit in health. Those are the 15 required credits for a diploma. In addition to that, 9 elective credits that students traditionally have chosen what they want to take. This could include a world language. You take 4 years of Spanish, that's an elective. You take 4 years of concert band, that's an elective. So right then and there, if you took a year-long concert band and a year-long world language Spanish class, that's 8 credits over the course of your time. Okay? Any questions about current graduation requirements? Yes? No. Language has always been elective. It is something that colleges highly suggest and would suggest or recommend, depending on college that you're applying to. Okay. Current and pre-pandemic master schedule. The reason I think this is important is it gives context to some of our conversation about why kids are taking certain classes and why they might not be taking other classes. So this is a simple math lesson. We offer a 7-period schedule. That means 7 credits can be earned each year. The asterisk there is because students can certainly earn above that should they be taking outside classes through VLAX or EastStart or Running Start online. But here, 7-period day, 7 credits for the year. We require that students pass earn 6 credits each year in order to advance to the next grade level. 9th grade, 6 credits gets you into 10th grade. 10th grade, 12 credits gets you into your 11th grade year. And then over the course of your 4 years, you're at 24 credits. Okay. We require seniors to enroll in at least 5 credits. We do this for 2 reasons. One is to maintain full-time status. It actually helps with things like athletics. And we require them to do the 5 so that they ultimately can take more classes. Over the course of 4 years of high school, if you take a full schedule, 7 credits per year, you're 28 credits. You have more than enough to graduate. The flexibility of having to earn only 6 credits gives you that flexibility for some who choose to take a study hall. If you're a pre-sport athlete, you have limited time to be here. And so kids like to use that time during the school day to get work done. And for some, if they don't pass a class, it gives them a little bit of wiggle room to be okay and still graduate on time. At any point in time, if you have a question, just please interject. And of course, like I mentioned, at the time, any classes taken on. The pandemic master schedule, when Superintendent Roderick had presented our reopening plan, we had a lot of discussion about, do we want to change anything big picture while we're going through the pandemic? What we did, which I think was the right move for many of the reasons that we discussed, we offered the block schedule to minimize the amount that kids had to manage. That first year, we had kids here every other day, modified day, until we were forced to come back in. We followed that up, not knowing what the next year was going to look like, and continued with the block scheduling again. That had a ripple effect that we are dealing with now, and we're going to continue to deal with for another year or 2. Okay, and this is why. We offered an 8 credit schedule over the past 2 years. That means kids were able to earn 8 credits a year, or 16 credits over the course of 2 years, if they took a full course of it. We still continue to require kids to take 6 credits each year to advance. So our graduation requirements of 24 credits did not change. We still required seniors to enroll in at least 5 credits, but we were actually able to push most kids to enroll in 6 because we said we really prefer you to be in at least 3 classes per term. So, over the course of 4 years of high school, students in grades 11 and 12 in particular can earn up to 30 credits simply by taking a class every period. They had 2 years, their freshman year and their senior year, where they're only earning 7 credits, and the 2 years in between that they can earn 8 credits. So we have currently a lot of students who are well beyond their graduation requirements. So this here is an example of that. This is the data coming from the transcripts. You have the 10th grade class, and actually we'll just look at 10th grade for a moment. In order to get into the 10th grade, you needed to complete 6 credits as a freshman. But because we're on a block schedule, you can see that 5% of that class earned their 6 credits. If you look, obviously here, kids who took a full course load earned 8 credits last year. They're sophomores with more than enough credits. In some cases, we have a significant amount of kids who took what we offered here, in addition to doing some stuff on the outside. You know, if you came to high school with 8th grade algebra credit, and you took 1 online course plus the 8 credits here at the school, you're already here after your first year. With the 11th graders, who got 2 years of opportunity, again, 4% of the kids had 12% or had 12 credits. Everything below this is that extra. And you can see as we get down here, we have kids who have plenty of credits, more than enough credits, moving into their 11th grade year. With seniors, the target to enter your senior year was 18 total credits. 2% of that class earned only 18. Everybody else is well beyond. We have seniors who entered their 12th grade year already having enough graduation credits to graduate. Some chose to say, hey, I want to come up with a schedule that only has me here part-time. I want to go and work. I want to do whatever it is they're going to do. Some we've been able to convince and say, no, take classes here, do what you want to do. Last time you're getting free education, enroll in things. So when you tell students that, and they're already in a place of having credits, you are going to see students doubling up and taking classes that they want to take because they want to, not because they're being forced or that there's no other options. We run rigorous courses all day long. 7 periods a day, there is an advanced course for any student to take. Right? It doesn't mean that every kid is qualified or every kid wants to, or in some cases they may have already taken it from a previous year. But there are a lot of offerings happening throughout the day. Any questions about total credits? Okay, this is a transcript analysis. I know it might be a little bit tough to read. I've used the electives that are outside of the academics. So this does not include science electives, math electives. It doesn't include world language electives either. PE, family continuing science, tech ed, which is wood shop, metal shop, music, and art. This is a breakdown. I went back pre-COVID, back when we were running 7-period schedules. This is what kids took back in the graduating class of 2018. You can see that 45% of the kids took their 1 credit in PE. Everything below this is the additional courses that kids chose to take by choice. Part of their 9 credits of opportunity. We had this one individual who took 6.5 credits of PE. And for just my own entertainment purposes, I went back and looked at who that kid was. I was curious and I went, that makes sense. That absolutely makes sense. When you look across the board, keep in mind that with music and art, it is a fine arts half credit requirement. So you'll see most of those kids, most of those numbers, satisfy their class and then get out of there. Is what they needed to do. But I found this very interesting. We had far more kids using all of their elective requirements to take music classes. In digging a little bit more, this was not in isolation. A lot of the kids who were taking upper level music classes were also taking language classes as well, which again is an elective. Can I move forward? 2019, 2020, obviously the class of 2020 on the tail end, they were the ones who were faced by the pandemic, the closure of school. However, everything was set in motion. Kids finished whatever they were going to finish at that point. So again, looking at the numbers, it's not astronomical. Any of these things that we're seeing, 47% of the kids earned their 1 credit, and everything beyond that were kids who, again, if you took 4 credits in PE, you used 1 period all year long for a PE class. When you break that down, that is literally 8 different classes that could have taken. So Jason could, if he was that kid, he could have taken PE weightlifting every year, every semester, for his entire time in high school. Same thing again happens in music. When you have kids earning at least 4 credits, you can deduce that they are taking a music class at least 1 period all 4 years. In some cases, this is the record. As far back as I look, we had 1 student who took 14 credits in music. And then, for the purpose of wanting to know the details, I went back and opened it up and said, I remember the girl. She was the kid who wanted to go off to college and become a music teacher. And took everything under the sun here, created a couple of independent studies as well. And again, not just taking course development classes. Had other electives that were sprinkled in there. This year's graduating class. Again, a lot of the same thing. You'll see that the majority of kids are taking their 1 credit. Some who are going far beyond that. But I think it kind of speaks for itself. Now, what was also interesting in doing the analysis, I came across science classes. We had kids who were earning 7 credits in science. They were taking every science elective that we had. And that's awesome. And again, you know who those individuals are, you know what their trajectory was heading off to college. You went, yeah, it makes sense. They went off to school and are now working in bioengineering, biochemistry, and other things that we really don't know what it is, what it means, and what they do. Questions about transcripts? So academic levels to choose from, this was mentioned, there was a concern about are we offering enough high-level courses? Are we challenging kids? The answer is yes. We run the gamut of courses and at various levels, from basic to general, college prep, and honors. We've also, and you've been part of this discussion because we've brought it to you every time that we want to do this, we have moved away from AP classes. Okay? And that's been a conscious decision because the dual enrollment courses, they directly benefit students in a way that AP classes do not. It's cheaper, it's a guaranteed credit in many schools. So we offer several dual enrollment options, and again, when we presented this to places like Billington and Duke, they went, wow, this is awesome. This is terrific. None of this has changed. We still do this. Now, we offer AP courses, dual enrollment through the school, the college board, but we pulled back on this, and I would guess that within the next year, two, maybe we don't. Honestly, the only AP class that we're running this year is in art. Everything else has been pushed to a dual enrollment guarantee credit. Now, I will say also, with AP art, we have had a 100% success rate for every kid who has taken an AP art course has passed that test with a score of 3 or 5. We offer Running Start. There are dual enrollment options through the community college system of New Hampshire. We offer SNU in the high school, which is Southern New Hampshire University classes here in the high school. These are courses that are physically, literally taught by teachers here. There's an application process. You apply to whatever that school, they review your credentials, your transcripts, and they say, here it is. What shows your curriculum. We want to make sure that you're teaching what we're teaching. There's a mentor teacher that works from the university, coordinates with the teacher here, and we're off and running. Students have the option to earn the college credit by paying a pretty nominal fee. I think it's $110 in one and $125 in the other. Ballpark. We offer some scholarships for kids who maybe can't afford it, that we will chip in and help pay that bill for the next term. We also have eStart, and these are courses that are not taught by PMHS teachers. These are things that are available online. Our counselors work with kids. If we don't offer something that they want, and we, whether it's dual enrollment or a regular class, our counselors will then work with kids, sometimes parents, and orchestrate how to sign up and enroll in an eStart class. This is an online college course that the kids can do outside of PMHS. We have kids here who take study halls and then use their study hall time to complete their eStart course. For the data keeping side of things, we don't get credit for them being enrolled in a course. However, student is still taking advantage of an opportunity, still using our resources, being whether it's a Chromebook, the internet, or the counselors to make sure that they're satisfying college requirements, high school requirements, in addition to college credit. Virtual Learning Academy, this is VLAX for short, not taught by PMHS teachers either. This one's a little bit more difficult and challenging for us to manage because you can enroll in a VLAX course. Technically, you can enroll in an eStart course as well, but we don't ever have to know about you taking a VLAX course. You can come to us after the fact and say, hey, by the way, I'm taking these 5 classes. VLAX is an accredited school in New Hampshire. They send us a transcript, and we give you the credit. Okay? These are all things that exist here, that run throughout our building every day, all year. So current dual enrollment participation we currently have, I'm not going to read it all, I'll put it up there. If you have questions, Running Start. Again, we know it forces you to stay relaxed. I guess it has more. So it came up at the last meeting as well, why are some classes not running? This is a supply and demand game. It's a use of resources. game of economics. If we don't have the demand for a class, it makes sense to run something else instead. And so every year we offer things in the program of studies, we throw it out there, we see what the kids are interested in, and then when we get that data back, we say, all right, 3 kids signed up for this class, 25 kids signed up for this class, that teacher can teach either class, we're going to go with this one. We then don't just leave those 3 kids high in the dust. The counselor will have a conversation with them and say, are you interested in doing this one here? No. Okay, are you interested in something else? No. Can we help you get something online? No. There is a conversation that happens. Okay? So, of course, this is not Ron, you would ask for this. All of this first bullet point are classes that are within the business and computer tech program. And one of the issues that we have one business and computer teacher, and we offer a wide range of things. And so, Mrs. Hope, who teaches business and computer, she usually has on average about 3 classes in one classroom during a period. So you guys over here might be working in business 1, you guys might be working on business 2, and you guys might be in entrepreneurship. And she's got to manage 3 different grade books, 3 different assignments, and these are the things that just didn't have enough students interested in them that justified running them compared to some of the other courses that were more demanding. In family and consumer science, a class called Living on Your Own is a popular class. We had 30 kids that signed up for that, but again, something had to give. Usually what we've done with Living on Your Own is we've asked for it to be taught outside of family and consumer science. We give 1 or 2 classes to someone and Living on Your Own, or we're all adults, we all can teach that. It's curriculum that's built, we can currently go, here's what you need to cover in order and fit. This year we just didn't have the room to do that, everybody needs to. In health, exercise science at 3 different levels, general, CP, and honors did not run. We chose to run a different health class. Our plan is to flip-flop and run exercise science next year and not run the intro to athletic training this year. And then we get on the cycle of running the rest. In music, vocalization did not run. Spanish 4 did not run. This was a conscious decision that we talked about for a long time because of what block scheduling did for us with the abbreviated schedule over the past 2 years. Our Spanish 3 kids really did not, you were on those, right? Yeah, we had a lot of conversation about that. We didn't cover the curriculum the way that it needs to. And we had a personnel issue last year that just didn't allow us to get to where we needed. So we could have offered Spanish 4 to students, but it was probably going to be nothing more than a glorified Spanish 2.8, maybe. Maybe 1.5. So we made the decision that we have to cut it. Now that we're back on a regular schedule, it'll take a couple of years. We'll get back to the point of being able to offer Spanish 4 honors in time. But we don't need to right now. In the social studies department, this AP US History and AP US Honors did not run. However, we took those classes, and that's what makes up the 36 students who are currently enrolled in that online study class, taught by the teacher that is here. Okay. American government in general, this is a graduation requirement that goes into the program of studies effective next year. This will constitute the civics credit. This will also be where students are going to have to take and complete pass with a 7-8 year citizenship test. Contemporary issues, psychology, CP, sociology honors, again, just not enough demand there. And we did lose a staffing position in that department as well. So we had to lose some positions, of course. In science, biology 2 honors and bio general. And in math, algebra 1 honors and probability and stats. I put the number 4 up there because we talked specifically about math more so than anything else. We have 4 students who signed up for algebra 1 honors. Those students are 4 students who came from 8th grade and signed up for algebra 1 honors. They're qualified for algebra 1 honors. And so what we then did is we worked with those kids and their parents, and we said, you can either go algebra 1 CP, or if you feel comfortable enough, we'll bump you up to the geometry honors. And with probability and stats, we had 4 students who had signed up for it. It did not run. We tried to get all 4 into a different math class. I believe 3 said they're not interested, went in a different direction, and 1 or 2 made the jump up into topics. Yes.
So, just trying to understand the difference between that SNHU U.S. history course that 38 students are taking and the courses that are more from
Yep.
U.S. history?
Yep. So, for a long time, we offered U.S. history honors here at the high school, and we offered U.S. history AP U.S. history, and that's been what we've done for a long time. We decided to apply to see if we would qualify to teach a dual enrollment course. And when we did, we said, great, let's take honors and let's take AP and let's combine it into the dual enrollment. So although we didn't run those 2 courses, we ran this instead, and we took all of those kids who had signed up for those other 2 and put them into this.
Okay, so it's not really that those courses were run, it was replaced with another method.
Yes.
It was still prospect teachers?
Yes. Thank you for your attention. Let me ramble on. Any questions on anything that we've discussed? I think it's important for all of us to understand this. I don't want the misconception out there that we are a bad school, or that we have bad teachers, bad students. We have problems that every high school has, and we have kids who do very well, and we have kids who struggle. And I truly do believe one of our strengths is that we are meeting students where they are, and working with them and helping them grow over the course of time. Our goal has never been, let's put every kid in an Ivy League college. Our goal has been, let's try to put kids in the best place that they can possibly be when they leave here. And I believe that everybody from the administration, counselors, to teachers are doing the best that they can. We offer a lot of great stuff. I've said to people, some of you have heard me say this, if we had 50 more students coming to school here, I don't know if there would be anything more that we would offer. We might just offer more sections of what we already do. So from the open enrollment standpoint, I know that is a goal of ours. It's the same reason that Gillington was very impressed with us, and New was very impressed with us. I don't think they didn't come here because they weren't impressed. I think there were other factors going on there. All of my feedback that I got from interacting with those people were, you look great. And I believe that we are great. So, unless you have any other questions for me, I'll shut down. Move on.
Thank you, Jim. That's the only way to get details. So pages that you gave on the transcript, there's a lot of pages there. Can you kind of give a summary of what you were trying to demonstrate?
Yeah.
Just kind of give a summary of what all that to you means when you see it on there.
Yeah, so what that means, what I wanted to show you is that we're spreading love across all the electives. We're not just loading up in PE, we're not just loading up in family and consumer science. We're offering a very comprehensive list of things that kids can take. And, you know, as a school, we've always taken pride in allowing kids to choose some of the things that they want. And I know for some people, you know, they may not necessarily like that, but I think the kids are willing to appreciate that. And I think it's important to recognize that we're a comprehensive school that offers a lot. And so I wanted you to see how the wealth is spread out amongst kids taking electives.
What do you see for the issue that is talked about, courses that are in program studies and, a lot of kids work their schedule around certain courses and that are able ultimately to take them, whether it's because you don't have a teacher or space or not enough students. What do you see as solutions for that?
Well, one of the challenges that exists everywhere is that kids do have to make a choice. And sometimes that choice is uncomfortable to make, but that's the reality. So I'll give you an example. A lot of the kids who are taking calculus, those are the same kids who are taking honors chemistry together. And a lot of those kids are the same kids who have been taking those classes that might be in French 4 together. And it's a small pack of students. And because we don't have a large population of students, that's a small number, and we can only only offer one section of French 4. And so we can only offer one section of honors chemistry, only one section of calculus. And so when the schedule builds itself, we say, don't let these advanced classes overlap with each other because we want to maximize the opportunity for kids to take as much as they can. So when we build a schedule, French 4 is here, honors chem is here, anatomy and physiology honors is here, calculus is here. And so kids are able to try to take as much as they can. However, there does come the time, especially when you're running into electives, and probably the most common one is in the music department, where kids want to continue singing the chorus, or they want to continue to be in concert band, and they go, man, do I take this class, or do I do my 4th year concert band? And therein lies one of the problems, kids do have to make a choice. In most of those cases, the choices come down to electives, not usually a requirement.
So, and just trying to understand also some of the challenges in when the core courses are offered, for example, especially the different levels of courses, just using, say, English as an example, because it's probably easier to do that. There's a basic CP honors, and those are spread out in the schedule, maybe one time, English honors will be taken. Are there ways we can look at being flexible and combining classes that maybe are differentiated by the teachers to teach the different levels, to open up space in the schedule?
Yeah, there are two primary solutions to that. One is to go in around what we call heterogeneous classes, and that is you're taking kids of all ability levels, putting them in the same classroom, and then having the teacher differentiate and say, you know, Matt is an honors level kid, I'm going to make sure that the work he's getting is honors level, where Jason, everybody, is not. You know, he's a basic, and he's moving at a slower pace. So that is an option. It is tough to do. We have run classes here in the past that are heterogeneous degree. And, you know, you can pull up research that says that's the best way to go. Depending on who is teaching a class, depending on who you're talking to, depending on the variable of the kids that you have, it can be very challenging. And the second option is to, yes, we can do that, and for a lot of our classes we do. You take, for example, in our class, you could take general, college prep, or you could take honors, and that teacher is differentiating within that class, but that teacher is also managing 3 grade books and ultimately 3 curriculum, 3 different sets of standards, and it's a lot of work. So we do it, but we don't require and force every teacher to do it. We kind of take the approach of, do you want to, are you willing, and able?
And what is the process for determining what electives are in the program of studies? As far as, also evaluating, do we have demand, do we have the teachers?
Yep.
Just so that kids aren't set up to set up a schedule based on something that's in the program of studies, which isn't feasible to begin with.
Yep. So we don't put anything in the program of studies that's not feasible. We put everything in that we have the ability to run at the time in which we built it. So I'll go back a couple of years ago. We built the program of studies in February. Kids started selecting classes, and then our physics teacher announced in April that they were leaving. We went, and we didn't know for sure if we were going to be able to fill that void and have someone highly competent teach physics. We lucked out and ended up getting it, but that's a scenario where you go, man, if we don't get a physics teacher to teach that, we might have to pull back on that and not. It happened to us a few years ago. We lost a chemistry teacher mid-year, and we had to say, all right, we have to pivot and not run honors chemistry for the second half of the year. So when we build that program of studies, we put everything in it that is feasible based on the information that we have at that point in time.
And you mentioned how the block schedule resulted in kids having more credits ahead of where they normally would be in some districts. How does that compare to other schools that run block schedule? I mean, were we just still running our credits differently because we're still applying credits based on what a normal 7-credit schedule would be? We didn't adjust that when we did block scheduling. I mean, it seems like the math somewhere doesn't compute
the decision that we made was not to change the graduation requirements while we were in pandemic mode. I don't think that anybody believed that we would continue with block scheduling down the road. We knew that it was going to cause a blip, it was going to be a disruption for a couple of years. We're going to rectify it coming out where we are now. It's just it has to flush itself out over the next couple of years. How other schools deal with it, there are schools who run full-time block scheduling. We used to have that, and back then we had more graduation requirements. When we went to a traditional schedule years ago, we went from having 26 credits to 24 credits for graduation. And I will, just to add to that, we did look at, we surveyed close to 30 schools in New Hampshire about what schedule they have and how many credits they have, and we're in the ballpark of what's reasonable compared to other schools, with the exception of that for everything. For some reason, that's 80 credits. Thank you for your attention.
You're welcome. Jay, you have a couple more things here.
Sure.
You want to go over?
Yep. You had asked about, well, it's signature requirements.
Academic eligibility and then secret.
So, you had asked me to put together thoughts on academic eligibility, and I think I had shared with you what is in our current athletic handbook. So, just to offer clarification, the NHIAA offers minimal standards for academic eligibility. They require a student has to pass 4 units. They don't explain on the other side of what you can't or what you don't have to pass. They say you have to pass 4. That is based on an 8-credit thing. Basically, the NHIAA is saying you have to complete or pass 50% of the classes that you're taking in order to be eligible. Minimum standards. Here, we've gone a little bit beyond that. We've said that you can't be failing 2 classes. If you're failing 2 classes, you're ineligible. If you're failing 1 class, you're on probation. And if you're on probation, you have things that you have to follow and do on a weekly basis. So, this is what is in our handbook, and we've actually been using this process for quite some time. So, one of the things that you have to decide is, do you want to make our policy more about having to earn a certain amount of credits, or going in the opposite direction, do we want to stay the course here and say you can't fail more than so many credits? But right now, again, we have a 7-period day, 7 credits. We're meeting the minimal expectations from the NHIAA by saying you have to earn 4 credits in order to be eligible. And if we went with the minimal standards from the NHIAA, we would change how many classes you could fail and still be eligible. Does that make sense?
What do you mean by marking term? Is that quarter or semester or year? Any?
Term grades, it does not include the final grade. So if you failed 4th term your junior year, but passed the class overall, you would still be ineligible for your 1st term senior year for false grades. And that's an NHIAA minimum standard. So I guess the question comes down to, are you interested in changing what we currently have, or staying the course with what is already in place?
I really think this needs to go to policy.
They look thrilled.
How many, and you, I know you may not have the information right now, Jay, but how many students does that affect? Do you know what I'm asking?
Yeah, I do.
And you can get that to me later.
Yeah, there are a few every year. And keeping in mind, freshmen coming in, they're all eligible. And so it's often not until basketball season over now where freshmen find out they're ineligible. A lot of the other upperclassmen, because they know what it takes to be eligible, we don't necessarily have a lot of students who are being removed from a team after making it. We have a lot of students who go, I'm not going to try out because I'm failing
guess my own personal feeling is, you can certainly put policy in, but, I don't wanna, while I appreciate and want good standards, I also don't wanna make it impossible for kids. Not impossible, but, I want it to be a doable thing. Attainable.
So the decision really needs to be, if we went with the minimum standards that the NHIA said, kids need to pass 50%, so because we're at 7 period day, quick, it's happened, so. Right, so they would have to pass their 4 classes and then be eligible. So then we as a board would decide, are we okay with allowing the student to fail 3 classes and still be eligible to play? So I'm going to transition, sorry.
The probation part where they are getting monitored by the teachers, I like that part, because it goes in the classroom, and also have a chance to be able to highlight that part. So, we look at that. This part of policy is that, if they're an academic pro, they don't have those progress reports weekly. So they do have a chance to stay on the team. I believe they work hard.
Yeah, I don't see a problem with our current policy, but that's, I guess,
I don't see a problem with the policy as long as we given the opportunity to improve the things.
And I will say during COVID, the NHIA loosened up and said, hey, use your discretion at the school. If you had some students who did fail as a result of just not being connected or not having the resources, it gave me as a principal the latitude to make exceptions. And I did make a couple, and I denied a couple based on information that we had. But we're now on the other side of that, and the expectation is to go back to the higher expectation.
Not a motion to policy the way it is, it's a second.
Any further discussion? We can talk about this all night. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
So satisfying. You had also asked about a co-curricular and to come back to you. This is for kids who may want to be involved in robotics or theater or class office. Years and years ago, back when we first started, we did have a co-curricular agreement that students needed to, we basically took the athletic agreement and we replaced sports with co-curricular. And we did the same thing. Over time, that went away. And there was a reason why it went away, and I don't recall what it was. But my suspicion is because we did the same thing with dances, that you had to actually be passed in all of your classes in order to be eligible to go to the school dance. And what we saw happening is we saw fewer and fewer kids participate in stuff. So we kind of backed off of it and said, let's encourage people to be involved in doing more. There's a connection between being involved in your school, especially when it came to demonstrating leadership and academic success. So if we want to, we can certainly go down the road. I'm happy to put together a co-curricular agreement that is based on the skeleton here, if we choose to do that.
Sure. Some sort of sport club,
Why would
say academics first, which it does, it's activity as well. So does ours. But same thing, it should be, because a lot of people also do more than they want to make sure they're okay with it. You have to be personal.
Well, I'm just thinking, why would we hold athletes accountable to a different standard than somebody who's passionate about music or art or theater? You know?
Offer programs in art and theater, or art and theater in particular, up to the time that they get to athletics, it's art and athletics to practice and
holding them to this, we were saying, sorry, you can't participate in the concert, or you can't participate in the parade, because those are not part of your parade.
That's a class.
Sure, but that's also like it's like the extracurricular activity that's attached to your class. So that's when we started scratching our heads going, wait a second, we don't want to prevent kids from participating in things like a quarter show or...
See, different sports, because they don't represent a school, and also, represents high school grades and other school kids. For me, that's
So, I mean, it's, if you want to grab something, well,
Yeah, I think it would be good for the administration to work on something and spend some time with it, bring it forward to us, whatever,
Yeah.
whichever way you want to go.
I mean, for Taylor said you have a coalition every year, like you said, Memorial for coalitions. For Taylor, but different. So that, only the standard of the pass.
Not a lot, that's what we want. We want so much support to succeed. You know, I mean, it's so hard to become a sport. So
Yeah.
we want them to be in sports because it's so healthy. We don't want to take it away if we can leave them in sports. And that's what we want.
Well, and no matter what the activity, whether it be athletics or something else, you know, that's for some kids, that's all they have,
Right.
you know?
yeah, you know, I understand we're an academic institution, but for some kids, robotics is what they're here to do.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, and they're passing their classes at the last minute, 66, 67. They don't care, because the D- is a credit. But robotics is their work. So it's going to be a fun line of us trying to decide what counts, what doesn't, and what's the...
It's like that for the athletic kids too, you know? Yeah.
I will try to answer. Talk about something back to you, I'll give you more of the policy.
Senior class trip request?
Speak for that one, and take it. The seniors have put in a request to go on their class trip. It is an overnight stay out of state, and policy requires full permission. We're going to Portland, Maine, spend 2 days there. Bowling, billiards.
I don't remember all the exact details, but I do remember we have like bowling place and like a bowling program and we get includes like meals and stuff too. So. So we can stay at hotels.
Yeah, so I thought I had sent it, I can all this populate here, they would go up, I believe, on Wednesday afternoon. They're spending Wednesday night there, I think they leave the trampoline park on Wednesday night, Thursday they do the bowling alley, there's karaoke, I assume the traditional bowling alley. And I think they're still working on some of the itinerary details of, you know, are they gonna go to another event, a show, whatever it is. I think breakfast is included at the hotel, the trampoline park has pizza, that's part of it, and the bowling alley's got a cost for, is for food as well. So obviously kids can spend money on food outside of those venues, and then they spend the night there Thursday night, and come back Friday.
Yeah, we decided like breakfast and dinner was included, opportunities for lunch obviously, and then we're still looking for like details obviously, but general basis. We're also basically kind of finding what capacity we're still looking to. And I think right now, it's not, it shouldn't be more than, it won't be more than $300 per person.
No, I think it's nice to see, no. But I think it's nice to see, the overnight senior trip coming back.
Yeah.
I know that it's been, so I hope that the future, classes are construed as well.
All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Math teacher survey requests?
One of our math teachers is taking a graduate course. As part of that course, she does research, so she requested that I bring this. She requested that I sign this book because it's outside of instruction. The policy required to approve it, and so this is the consent form that's developed in conjunction with her graduate professor.
Make a motion to accept the proposal for the, math survey.
Any further discussion on this? So to be clear, this is for parents, the consent form.
Yes.
All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Do you, anything else?
But I'm here.
Technology report is in your packet. Christy, is there anything you want to mention? No? Curriculum, Matt?
In your board report, you have a couple updates. One of them stems around the Prospect Mountain High School mission. Today, I met with the faculty and staff here to go through the process of choosing a shared definition of what personalized education is here at the high school. So we've had a couple different things from our October 7th meeting, professional development meeting, and then follow-up survey with faculty, staff, and admin. We brought it down to 4. And it's important for us to understand that having that shared definition so that it means the same for everybody. So we've asked the faculty to then take a look at those 4. When we start to take a look at what we do after we've chosen this definition, we'll start to take a look at the indicators of what personalized education looks like in the classroom. Teachers will be asked to start to look at their own teaching to see where those indicators might be present within their current structure. Then we'll start to look at bringing some of that work into other faculty members to have conversations around what we do in the classroom. And then obviously the next step would be to take a look at their current UBD units and really start to implement personalized education units, giving students those opportunities. We did discuss today as well the fact that part of this process is also going to help us start to look at enrollment and really kind of start to sit there and say, what do we do different here than what other schools might be doing locally? Jay mentioned a bunch of classes. I think if we look at the courses that we offer, we do offer a lot for a small school. But when you look at some of the research that's out there, one of the things that people are looking for is what are you doing? What kinds of things that we can do differently to help their child be successful? One might think that scores are, test scores or something that when people go, oh, I don't know there because their test scores are much higher than ours. That's not the case. What the case is that, yeah, while we're looking for schools that have better test scores, we're looking for that alternative piece. What can I do differently? What can we do differently? How will my students succeed? Whereas that traditional piece is only working. So personalized education isn't necessarily throwing out everything that we're doing. It's really kind of taking a look at how do I get that student to give me what they know in a variety of different formats. It's not just a piece of paper and a pencil. It might be a variety of different avenues that student can do. So, but we can't do that until we all have that shared definition of what personalized education is. So we'll be completing that survey by the end of this week, and then I'll give you some data to sit down and talk to Jay and our next steps on that. So This also kind of stems into the conversation that Jay had tonight. We did meet last week as a group with the grad requirement committee, or whatever we call ourselves there. And we went through some of the same things, and we talked about a variety of topics around the graduation requirements. We talked about where we are with the number of students who are attending our entry test. How do we look at the number, and do we increase that number? How do we go about doing that? And when you start to think about that particular application, that's a pathway that a student can do that. They might want to get into the building trades, or they might want to get into automotive. Whatever that pathway might be, we want to make sure that we're providing that student that opportunity. ELOs, where we haven't had a lot of ELOs, and part of that is because of the pandemic, right? We really can't do internships when many places are open, maybe not allowed to do that. So we're going to start looking at how do we have those conversations about getting the ELO structure back in place, and what's in place, but really kind of utilizing that as yet another opportunity for kids to be successful. And so the hope is that, as we transition away from those students who have had those previous blocks, but now we have that next group of kids coming up, it's more than just looking at, I want to take X amount of left in this period, but maybe I want to get into this. And so that's really where our focus is going to be, having our advisors, if you will, school councils working on it. We talked about this earlier in the year, but I'm working with the elementary principals, looking at doing some sort of interest surveys with our 7th and 8th graders. So they start thinking about, what do I want to do? What's my aptitude? What's my interest? So that they start to look at classes beyond freshman year, most kids. They start to think about what they want to do. Again, don't change it out. I really seem to change class on a daily basis. So we're a nice product of graduation college, but that's the second thing. But again, that's sort of what the focus is, in trying to sort of get people to see what we're doing and how we're going to do something over the next several years.
I think one thing that's hard about the tech program at Kingswood is that it seems like sometimes kids don't know what they want to do by that time. So if they're going into sophomore year and they have to pick, or going into junior year, and they have to pick, sometimes that's too early. And then they miss their chance to just learn.
True, but if we start looking at that in the 7th and 8th grade levels about what their interests lie, and really having conversations, and their work with their school counselors, and again, it's not sort of saying, okay, you chose this pathway, so you're sticking to it for the next 4 years, but at least they're starting to think about that their freshman, sophomore year. And along those lines, we want to make sure that they're getting the courses under their belt that they need for their graduation, right? Because that happens a lot too, where they want to go to the tech center, but they haven't fulfilled some of the general requirements. It makes it that much more difficult because the transition time is really 2 blocks for every class that we get.
It would be nice if those 7th and 8th graders, especially the 8th graders, really, even some of the 9th graders, could have a field trip presentation or something, because I feel like they just really have no sense of what those programs are.
They do a nice job, I think, in the freshman seminar with the career planning unit. But I think it would be great to have that reinforced at the middle school level and just keep building upon it. Huh? Oh, is it going?
But it's called citizenship this year.
Oh, we talked about that.
But it's one of the conversation pieces that we're going to have in January as a precursor to programs that are things that we have to try to switch up for big pictures purposes.
So the audience knows that what the meeting we're doing is comprised of board members, administration, and students. I think the freshmen, there's really the seniors, and I think I've got at least one more for sophomores and juniors. To come next, talk about the graduation requirements, what it needs to, well, parents obviously so what it needs to have for graduation requirements, what is the interest of their group of each group, and what they're looking at. So it's pretty good having meetings. Senior was ready to talk, my daughter, the freshman, was not ready to talk. And she's working on it to represent what they want. So a lot of the discussion I thought came out of that meeting.
Really good focus going forward, so that's one of the pieces. The other piece is that the evaluation working out some of those details there, but it's been some good, healthy discussions. We also talked about the merits of our coaching model, where we're doing mini observations versus that sort of one at a time, which is traditional and dog, what I would call a dog and pony show. So there's going to be some more dialogue conducted for tomorrow on hours. What we did do is we sort of come to a tentative decision that the evaluation process will be different for those who are new to the profession, haven't been teaching, whether it be first or second year. Those who have been teaching for more than 5 years have moved across the line, and those who have been teaching for 5 or more years. So we feel like it needs to be sort of those different areas so that we can focus more, obviously, on moving from something that's new to our school versus something that has been here and we know what they're bringing to the table. Again, the whole idea of this process is around the model. So, again, our hope is to bring a draft sometime in January. Don't know a little bit more tomorrow what the feedback are, but I'd rather take the time to do it right versus have a rush to put it here first.
Thank you so much. It's been great work. Tim?
My report's on your table. It's not as bad as it looks. It's thick because there's an attachment for you to take home and review. Update on open enrollment and the Innovation School project. Your attorney, Matt Upton, is working on warrant article language that would put warrant articles on both the Alton and Barnstead March warrants to authorize SAU 301 to operate as an open enrollment district. That means that the high school and any other program you start would be subject to the state's open enrollment law, meaning, as I'm sure you already know, but I'm going to say it again for the record, that any student who resides in the state of New Hampshire could attend this high school or any other program of SAU 301, provided if it's an in-person program, they provide their own transportation. On the innovation program, I've submitted a use of funds plan so that we can start spending that grant. It's about a $250,000 grant from the DOE's ARP ESSER money, not the district's ARP ESSER money. We're still using that to do an HVAC project to wrap up spending with the ESSER funds here, but this is an additional $250,000 to help try this out and see how it goes. So the risk here is low, no financial risk to the taxpayer. We get to spend some federal money via the Commissioner of Education to try this out. I am ready to engage as soon as those funds are released in the grants management system. Michigan Virtual, I think they go by Institute, to help develop a pilot program that I've described to you before. They've done it before, they're qualified to do this. Kristen Teal, who's one of the consultants, along with Bruce Harrington, so we've done that before. Ms. Teal has started a school before, almost identical to what we're talking about. She did it in another state, and that's a coincidence. I didn't know that when we started working on this. It just happened that way. We've got a PR firm ready to help with a viewbook to market Prospect Mountain High School as an open enrollment school, and we are ready to begin. We're going to have our kickoff meeting to begin working with Aptigee the first week in January to develop a new website first for the high school for the purposes of allowing open enrollment applications electronically, and also for whatever this blended pilot program might look like as a separate section of that. And then moving forward, we can add the 2 elementary schools to the same website, and we've already built into next year's budget so that the costs are shared across the 3 SAUs. But this initial development, we get to pay for out of this grant because it's being used to promote open enrollment in this pilot program. On strategic planning, I'm going to a Rotary Club meeting this Thursday, still looking for more ideas if anybody has any thoughts, suggestions about where we can go to talk to stakeholders in the communities who aren't typically associated with the schools, especially. Parents and kids and staff are easy to get a hold of. We have all their email addresses, but everybody else, it takes a little more effort to find. So I did one event with the Alton Business Association in October and bringing in touch with them, so as I think all know about events that are going on. got something, I tried to plan something for this month with the American Legion Post, and it's going to happen in a few months. It's just, their schedule's a little bit tied up around the holidays, but with the effort we got, I will go see them. It'll just be a little bit later, probably after we've done most of this strategic planning process. Matt already told you he met with the faculty and Jay today. I hope to come in sometime in December to follow up on that with them and solicit more input. What's attached to this report, because this is only a page and a half, and you've got about 8 more pages here maybe, are some proposed revisions to the school resource officer memorandum of agreement with the Alton Police Department after observing how the program functions. It's hard to tell during the pandemic how anything functioned, but this year after observing how the program functions, I've done 2 things in this draft. You'll find language struck through, which I propose to delete. That's what that means, if there's a line through it. Language in red, which I propose to add. There's a fair amount of that. And language in yellow, which literally means highlighted, for when I sit down to talk to the chief to talk about whether we can do a little bit better job following some of the words that are already here. So I'm not asking you to take action on this because I've done quite a bit of work on it, so I'd like you to take it please this month, and maybe in January you can take action. If you approve of this or want to make some changes first and then approve, then I can go meet with the chief and we will re-execute the memorandum. Do I have one more? Yes. Oh, this is a great one. Don't miss this. So I received a call from the town administrator, Mr. Heath, a couple of weeks ago, asking if the joint board would consider allowing elections to return to the high school. I think it was before my time that you last hosted elections here, but you've done it. So, this would affect one day every March, and then every other year there are primaries and November general elections. So, in the past, you did this in the auditorium, which, if you do it that way, you can set up barricades kind of at the back of the lobby, and you can still have a regular school day that day. However, given the new or current configuration of the voting booths, or the booths themselves, or something, they came in, they looked at the auditorium, it's not big enough, not accessible enough, and they would like to use the gymnasium, which means people walking in all the way down to the gym, going into the gym to vote, and probably means not having school on those days. So this is the same thing. Think about it for a month and come back, although I'm sure you'll want to have a conversation now too. If you wanted to do that, we have an October staff professional day already. It's currently the Friday before Columbus Day, typically. And we have a March staff development day, which is typically just a random day in March. It aligns with the holiday. So we could, at least in March, every single year, on the day of March elections, have that staff professional day. And then we could think about doing something like that in the fall, where this year in particular, there were some conversations about whether or not that was the best day for us to use that Friday for Columbus Day, although that's probably nice both for staff and families to turn that into a professional day here and then a 3-day weekend, and the families to have a 4-day weekend. There were other reasons why it didn't work out so well. We had a lot of staff that wanted to go to an instructional conference that's sponsored by the National Education Foundation, and that took them away from our professional day. So doing that on another day would work for us as well. So having our 2 staff professional days during the school year land on election days could actually work pretty well for us. But that doesn't mean you want to do it. And I told the town administrator that I would have this conversation with you, and then at the beginning of January when you meet again, we get back to a list of members.
I think the reason that having those still on the day of the JMA conference is that these people who go without having to have substitute teachers, and because we all know this, like, have substitute teachers. And so traditionally, in the state of New Hampshire, the JMA conference has always been a day off days when teachers have the opportunity to attend the conference.
which it could still be. We could still give families that 4-day weekend and staff the ability to go to that conference. But for us to try to hold professional development, some of the training we do, we need everybody to do. When we're talking about what we do when there's an active threat inside the school, we kind of want everyone there. So for us, moving our day to a different day could work pretty well.
That's not our, I think it makes sense to have elections in a public building.
And then is there an opportunity to look at how the schedules align? So for me, as a Barnstead parent, that would be great, so that the elementary, they both have those. This is different. High school has so I'm just wondering if there's an opportunity to go on everybody, whether that includes like something too, just so it's a little bit more consistent for parents. Kids like.
Yeah, if you were holding elections in this school and at Barnstead Elementary School, and we were having our staff development days land on those days, we would do it on all 3 school calendars.
We were at the same sense that they don't have a place to come moving forward. Last year, the school, they shut down days.
We'll discuss again next month. Okay. That's it for J. We have already looked at the class trip and the survey. And so we have the FY23 warrant articles next. FY24 warrant articles, you should know better. Oh, I'm reading. I didn't know if somebody, we should probably talk about it just a little bit. Karen, I didn't know if you want to bring those, discuss, or... Yeah.
So the first 2 are repetitive warrant articles that you've been running every year. The technology fund, this is the 3rd of a planned 3 years, so this would be the last time you do it. It's a $30,000 total article, so it gets divided because it's an expendable trust, not a capital reserve, so it gets divided as an operating cost. So it's based on enrollment, so it's 50.64% to Alton and 49.36 to Barnstead. $15,192 on the Alton warrant, $14,808 on the Barnstead warrant, for a total of 30. And again, it's the 3rd out of 3 years that trust would then be fully funded. We'll see it again unless we happen to have to use it at some point, then we might ask to replenish it in the future. The second one is the Athletic Field Capital Reserve Fund, which you ask for every year. I don't know if you ever have skipped a year. And that one is to put $30,000 into that reserve, which is building toward eventually resurfacing the track and the tennis courts. I'm not sure in which particular order. At a rate of $30,000 a year, it's going to take a while, but this is what we've been doing. Those are capital costs, so that one, under the JMA, is divided 50-50. So $15,000 each, simple math. And then the last one is the collective bargaining agreement for the support professionals at the high school, which, when we get to that under personnel, I can read you all of the TA terms that the negotiation team agreed to, but I can tell you for purposes of this right now, if you ratify that agreement, that the warrant article to standardize the costs, you have to list each year's impact, each year's new financial impact. So for fiscal '24, you've got a total of $71,270. These are operating costs, so 50.64% of that in Alton will be $36,091. 49.36% of that in Barnstead will be $35,179. In fiscal '25, you have a total new money cost of $43,520. Alton's share of that will be projected at $22,039. Barnstead's share would be projected at $21,960. For this 3-year agreement, you'd have a new money cost of $47,504. In Alton, that would be $24,056, and in Marta, that would be $23,448. Provided you ratify the TA.
Any
partial
extra
agreement later. We only need action to the extent that we're going to show these to the Alton Budget Committee and the Joint Budget Committee, so I guess that means yes. Because we meet with both of them in the next 2 weeks.
So the finance committee unanimously voted to recommend these warrant articles to the board. So I will make the motion that we accept them as presented, along with the details that to provide for the collective bargaining agreement and all purchasing meeting, all those numbers again.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? Any opposed? Oh, policies. She like policy, it's just a lot.
So you did first reading on a whole booklet of policies at your last meeting, so this is your second reading to adopt and second reading to rescind as already presented.
Make a motion, second reading to all of the ones that were read last week, so not all again.
Second. And this does not include the dress code for athletic extracurricular eligibility, just to be clear. Well, it's just a separate, just a separate, because that's first reading. All right, any further discussion on the policies? Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay. All right, and then we have the dress code policy. Well, do we have there been any changes? It's kind of, it's on the agenda, but it was kind of left up in the air last time.
Yeah, so I did meet with students. I put out a request to all the leaders and teachers. I got 8 who took me up on the offer. 7 emails from there. So ultimately, they felt that there should be any, I'm going to read to you their notes and I've summarized, that there should not be any restrictions to footwear or clothing due to weather. It's that in high school, it's the student's responsibility. The student wants to wear sandals during winter, their prerogative. I did address the issue of, if there's an emergency that requires everybody to be outside, and the response that was met was, we're in high school, it's your choice. The same thing could happen to us prior to or from school. They felt that things like straps should not be a topic of discussion, that straps should be all sizes. If somebody wanted to wear a tube top as well, they could. At the end of the day, their emphasis is on private parts being covered. And if it's determined by administration that parts are not covered, that should be, then that's cause for conversation and change. Minimal midriff exposure should be allowed for both boys and girls. They addressed it as if the boys are wearing a muscle tank top that either cuts way down on the front or on the side, then that's no different than girls being wearing a crop top showing off midriff. Neither should be allowed. But there should be some flexibility that if a boy is wearing a basketball jersey and it shows a little bit of underneath the armpit, that should be acceptable. And for girls who might have a short shirt on, if they're raising a hand or if they're walking, they have a minimal amount of clothing, that should be okay. There should be a judgment call and a conversation that takes place between the administration and the team, giving the student the opportunity to defend. Nothing too revealing or exposed to private parts. All private parts should be non-visible. Hats should be emphasis really comes down to the enforcement. The students feel the administration should be the ones addressing dress code violations, and teachers should be limited in their conversation with students. So I don't know how much that assists.
That's some pretty specific feedback. I'm impressed, yeah.
And that's more or less what happens now, what we tell the teachers, because not everybody feels comfortable addressing it, so we tell the teachers, if someone's in questionable clothing, just send them to the office and say, Mrs. Russell or if wants to speak with me. So when the student comes up and says, you want to speak with me? That's our cue to go, oh, they've been sent to us. Correct.
Likely be more consistent.
Yeah, there are some of the adults, and this will require some training, conversation, dialogue of some adults who like to have parent-like conversations about clothing choices and appearance and things of that sort. So I have to work at getting staff to have less of those conversations.
Is this written up? I didn't see it.
I didn't have it anywhere. It's written up here. I can share it with whoever. I wasn't sure who was actually writing the policies.
All right, let's bring it back forward in January as a written policy to review.
Who should am I writing this policy or am I giving it to somebody else who's writing a policy?
I think, when does the policy committee meet next? So you guys don't feel like you need to see it as well? Okay. All right, straight to the school board. We're going to change it. Yeah. It would be effective for next year. Yep.
And then the students were all in agreement with the negative or the
Hate speech, vulgar language, yeah.
One of the interesting things that has come up, and this has actually come up in my state principals meetings, is that branding has changed quite a bit. And so now there's branding that are just, for example, the Playboy bunny is just now, it's like the Nike symbol. And so they're producing and manufacturing hats, clothing, socks that just have the Playboy symbol on it. And so I'll say, Matt, you can't wear that. And kids are going, why? Playboy's Playboy party's like the best rapper. I'm like, because I'm old and that represents something that you don't know what it is. But that's not the only thing. That's one. There are brands like Cookies. You see that everywhere. Cookies is a brand that was made by cannabis producers who got it in the hands of rappers who were making videos and wearing it as a popular brand of clothing. At the end of the day, it's advertising a cannabis manufacturer. So we do have to decide where's going to be that line of what's going to be allowed versus what's not. And I don't by any means know all of the different codes and brands and titles and names, but this is something that principals throughout the state are all going, hey, have you guys heard and seen this one yet? Did you know it means this? And we're all like, no. So I don't know if there needs to be an additional oversight and how in-depth we want to go with that, but that's going to be part of this discussion.
I think you can call administration.
Freedom, that's what we want to do here.
Nothing like a moving target.
If it's obscure and nobody knows, who's gonna know? Except the other kids. So
Like one of the brands I'm sure you've seen kids walking around is there's a brand which I think is a band called Virginity Rocks, and another one called I Love Hot Moms. And so your first inclination is to be like, you can't wear that, and they go, it's okay. And you're like, well, you still can't wear that. Why? I honestly don't know. You just changed. So,
There's one with a middle finger hidden in a pattern of
Okay.
Well, I'm impressed with the students' feedback. I think that's great. Very specific. Okay, moving on. Personnel. So we have negotiations report.
So, in Mrs. Landry's absence, I'll present to you the proposed tentative agreements with the Prospect Mountain Educational Support Professionals Association. Just bear with me, I'm going to read through them. They are relatively minor. In terms of the language, there's a half-day addition to professional day time so that it coincides and synchronizes with teachers, so that after the last day of school, there's a half-day that paraprofessionals would come in with the teachers. That's so they can attend a meeting that Jay holds and do whatever else we have going on. There's language defining what a duty is, that duties for paraprofessionals outside of their regular student services assignments are still involving something related to students or supervising students, but that's the extent of the language. There is an increase in the amount available for professional development reimbursement. The previous pool of money was $3,000. It rises to $10,000. The previous amount, the limit on any one employee's reimbursement annually was $300. It's now $500. Now that this unit has existed for a couple of years, paras are having to recertify, especially para 2s are starting to find, oh, I have to take classes, so therefore, when they first proposed this, the board negotiator's first response was, well, nobody's ever used this before, because I told them nobody's ever used this before, and the next day I got a bunch of requests. There is an addition of a longevity benefit for paraeducators in service years 8 through 11, 11 through 15, 15 through 20, and more than 20 years. It's $500 in years 8 through 11, 750, 11 through 15, 1,000 in 15 through 20, and $1,500 as a longevity retention bonus in year 21 and beyond. Sorry, I've got some that were withdrawn here. There is a differentiation in the differential, sorry, I didn't mean to do that, age to paraeducators who are asked to substitute for teachers. We used to have just a flat amount when they substituted, but now it differentiates a 7-period day versus a 4-period day, so that there's a $10 differential for a period of substitute coverage on a 7-period day, and, sorry, $5 on a 7-period day, $10 on a 4-period day. My mistake. Already did longevity, no change in health insurance. Withdrawn. There is an extension of the dental coverage benefit to two-person and family plans. Previously, for this bargaining unit, the board paid 100% of the cost of a single plan, and if an employee had a two-person or family, they paid the full difference. Now, the board will pay 95% of the cost of a two-person plan and 90% of the cost of family coverage. That's for dental. It's far less costly per year than health insurance. There's a change in accrued time off to 12 paid sick days per year, 5 days of bereavement leave under circumstances that call for it, same as in all of our other CBAs, and then 4 days of personal leave, and it's notable that those changes align this CBA to one of the system's other paraeducator CBAs. This also eliminated a category called emergency days, which is just another bookkeeping item, I think. And this is a 3-year deal. The COLA parallel cost of living adjustments to the wage scale are the existing scale plus 7% in the first year, 5% in the second year, 5% in the third year. I already read you the impact of those changes when you were dealing with the warrant articles. And there's clarifying language about who the paraeducator's supervisor might be and who can assign and evaluate the paraeducators. Again, it's clarifying language. It's not a change in what we do. It's just sort of making it more clear in their agreement. There is a sick bank membership form to be appended to the agreement. It didn't exist before because there was no sick bank before, and the first agreement with this unit created the sick bank, so we worked with them to create a form, and now it gets attached to the CBA. And then this is the wage scale. I already read you the numbers, unless you really want to hear them again. So those are the tentative agreements with the Cross-County Educational Support Professionals Association, a unit of the NEA.
I think it's worth mentioning that Tim is working to align the different CBAs at the 3 schools so that we're only getting, an equal number from each town each year. The high school CBAs are split, so we're not getting, no town's getting hit with 3 of them in the voting. So I think we're on track to get that cycle.
So those COLAs are higher than you have agreed to in other CBAs. However, I think it would be more fair to compare this to other support staff CBAs because we're talking about the lowest wage earners or among the lowest wage earners in most public school districts with a wage scale that currently starts under $15 an hour. So 7% of that number, that's very different from a teacher's scale where people are making $50,000 to $80,000 or whatever it is.
Yeah, and I think honestly, the interest of the district is making sure that we can attract staff and keep staff the way wages are going out there.
And we have open positions for paras in 2 of the 3 schools right now and have all year.
So on the longevity piece, I'm just curious, people who stick with us, but if someone leaves, if that people leave, resign, no one enters the school and apply here, does that start when they start new, or how are we looking at that?
So generally no, and the reason, so it becomes a discussion every time it happens, and it ends up being a discussion that I have with the association representatives, because the association itself in some cases will object if somebody who comes in here who they perceive as new has a benefit that someone who's been here for a few years doesn't have. So generally no. The one thing that we sometimes do, and again it depends on circumstances, allow some time to transfer over or something like that. Generally the unions don't object to that. So they've figured out, I mean, everything you do is in public. You agreed to and published the shared services memorandum in the spring of 2020. So in 2 negotiations this year, the bargaining units have shown up with photocopies of one of your other agreements from one of the 3 schools and said, we want this. And some of what I just read to you, including that longevity benefit, is a direct copy from another CBA that at least some of you have agreed for.
The more we align, the more it benefits the SAU staff because they're not applying all these different rules to different schools. So the accounting's easier for sure. All right, so we're looking for a motion?
Needs to be ratified, yes.
Okay. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay.
You have 2 sheets on the table. You should have you have 1 sheet on the table that replaces the 1 sheet that used to be, right? The one with highlighter on it? The pink highlight, that's the one that says revised. It's got 1 resignation and a dozen or so appropriate respective appointments.
What does does the evaluation company work with math?
Yes, we established that committee in the last teacher's CBA, and it's the one we reported on earlier. Because it is a board-approved committee, this compensation is dictated by the collective bargaining agreement.
What is the big about the PT committee that mandatory is?
Yeah, it hasn't changed in years, and when Matt performed it this year, we set some new expectations and kind of explained to everybody what we were looking for, but sort of gave the people who had been on that committee in the past first refusal, and I think everybody returned.
And is the Granite State Challenge Coordinator, is that a year-round position, or is that just a seasonal?
That's maybe this year in season. However, it sounds like Granite State's going to be doing some other things that aren't necessarily about being on TV, so we encourage an ongoing format for them to meet. I don't know if they will, but try.
Great. Motion on the positions? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
Make a motion to accept the 2020 co-curricular stipends as presented.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay. We are at our second public input. Anybody would like to stand up?
I'll try and articulate a little bit better this time. The hot topic seems to be open enrollment. And obviously Mark brought up a really great point of what does Prospect do differently. We heard a bunch of minutia. Basically, we offer all the classes, kids graduate, that's it. That seems to be the industry standard. I don't know how many of you guys are in education, that sort of thing. I'm obviously not. I'm in sales. I travel all over the place to hundreds of organizations, and I see great organizations and I see terrible ones. One thing that really rings true to the really successful organizations is culture, and that's why I keep trying to hammer home. It comes from the top, and it's something as simple as a warm, inviting face every time you walk through the door. You're dealing with high school kids. They're obviously moody, that sort of thing, but there's ways that you can go about it to make them happy to be here, or obviously they're not going to be super thrilled. Some of them are, but you get my point. We really need to figure out the best way. I'm obviously not the best person to figure it out, but we need to figure out a great way to get kids excited to be here, excited to learn. It's not necessarily going to be, the standardized testing model. And so I think, that sort of thing. And to Charlotte's note, there's somebody that has a warm, inviting face every time I see her. And so we might be looking at getting rid of the wrong staff. I don't know if anybody comes here regularly or anything like that, but I obviously don't as much as other people. But look around. There's people that are excited about what they do, and then there's people that aren't. And the people that aren't, I understand it's hard to staff these days, but the people that aren't are probably pulling down the ship. So, just food for thought.
Anybody else? Future agenda items, anybody? Or do we say what's in the agenda?
Yeah, I've got about 6 so far.
Okay.
Yeah, joint budget committee will start tomorrow night and finish December 21st. So you'll get the joint budget committee's recommendations and written language on all warrant articles for your final action at the January meeting, and then it goes quickly to prepare for the deliberative session, and a little more slowly at March step to prepare the warrant. It create a written dress code policy at the next meeting, get, you act on the extracurricular eligibility policy, but did that include, extracurricular activities as well as athletics? So maybe we'll duplicate it and bring it, talking about other extracurriculars. Maybe written guidelines for public, but I apologize.
That's all right. So we are going into non-public. Next meeting date is January 3rd.
What's going on with RC 91-A, 121A?